Someone talked about the history of Haiti. 600,000 people were there before Christopher came, and within 50 years it was zero. He doesn't have any idea why, of what could be some of the reasons. Why?
Disease, genocide, migration.
They didn't really start with genocide. Genocide came a little bit later. Because the Indians, the Native Americans there, saw the Europeans as gods. Because they came with these new metals, with these things that like, we had technology. Like these guys thought it's not human. So they kind of bent over backwards to accept everyone. But still they were raised in 50 years. One of the main killers, one of the main primary killers of all people in all of South Americas, whether Haiti or all Latin America, is the missionaries. Because they were trying to do their best. Because they saw all these people running around naked. They said, no, you guys need to have clothes, don't you see that? Well, what are you guys doing? So let me start giving you t-shirts. T-shirts. Good, now they're all dressed. What happens on the rainy day? T-shirt gets wet. What happens if you wear a wet t-shirt for too long? Pneumonia. Millions of Native American culture was killed purely because of them getting t-shirts and clothes. And missionaries, the only fault of the missionary is they didn't look at how they were living their spaces. They just thought, this is better.
Thank you.
See?
Alleen je kabel.
Ja. Heb je die snoeber?
Ja.
There's one question which has remained open in the past because it has never been asked. What exactly is the mode of existence of social relationships? When you start to include space beyond purely some kind of physical thing, Cartesian thing, that has an end and a beginning, a boundary, a wall, square, then the study of space, here he says, offers an answer according to which social relationships of production have a social existence to the extent that they have a spatial existence. They project themselves into space, becoming inscribed there, and in the process producing the space itself. Failing this, these relations would have remained in the realm of pure abstraction, that is to say, in the realm of representation and hence of ideology. Do you understand that? To a large extent, it's exactly what I just finished talking about in this room. It's through our spatial existence and relating here, and our inscribing. We inscribe, so basically write in, so inscribe just means that we leave our trace, we're in that space. It's through this that this space becomes real. It becomes actual. And otherwise, it's just representation. It's just a drawing on someone saying, BGF 350, this space. It's just a vacant domain that's somehow there. But it's through our existence. He's saying here, social relations of production have a social existence. So social production just means, when social things exchanging, culture, the economy, ideas, just when social relations of production have a social existence, only to the extent that they have a spatial existence. It's for the reason that I said, could you actually imagine, in the beginning of this lecture, a non-spatial social exchange? Even in your dream world.
What if we as a studio would never meet? Would we then not have a social relation?
If we would never meet, it wouldn't be a studio.
But we would like email or whatever.
That's
Yeah, but I said, let's not go digital, because back in the days, I just would have to talk to you. So we're dealing, that's the reality of the world, because we're living in that world still. So it's all being complemented with digital. As I said, I don't need 3 more lectures just to do the virtual with you guys, because that's how much more complexity is in there. But because we're dealing with Haiti, I'm not going to get into that domain with you guys. It's a whole lot of world that's just in what virtual world is doing for us. As architect service, you can really grasp that. And we did an urban body studio on second space. We really had people from virtual worlds coming in and working together with us. So, but because it's experimental, we don't do that with Haiti. We don't want to experiment too much. But it's about understanding, at a very fundamental level, that is through and in space, and more importantly, through our social existence and relating, and thus producing social exchange, that space even comes to existence. And otherwise, it's just an idea. It's just a drawing. It's a vacant thing. I mean, how many rooms in this faculty are just non-existent at this moment in the reality that we're living? Because it's not part of what we're part of. Maybe, because the electricity line is going through there and the light is on, it's actually still on. So it actually is part of the economic cost. But maybe the lights that we have here all have these things, they all go off. It's really off. Maybe the heaters might be on. So there's still might have some economic, energetic things. But as far as our reality, socially, it's nothing. The person who's paying the bill here at the end of the month can say, okay, a room that once cost me that much because some electricity went into it, that much heat had to go into it. And the cleaning people had to kind of go into it. That's where it exists. Except for that, it wouldn't exist. So this is what he's trying to say here, that it's through the social exchange and through the social production that space even becomes a reality. Very provocative, very kind of hardcore, bold statement here. It's a real mind tweezer because you're going to be busy with this for, some people for a few years before it actually kind of falls as a coin. All social relationships become real and concrete, a part of our lived social existence, only when they are spatially inscribed. That is, concretely, tangibly represented in the social production of social space. Social reality is not just coincidentally spatially existing in space, it is presuppositionally and ontologically spatial. There cannot be the social without the spatial, he's saying here. There is no unspatialized social reality. There are no aspatial social processes. Even in the realm of your most creative mind. And that's why we call it this hidden spatial dimension, because it's something hidden simply because we're not acknowledging it, we're not seeing it.
And people who read the same book, they might have a relation which is not spatial.
Yeah, but they're not being social, they're just reading the book. They're just in themselves. You can be in yourselves, but there's no social production. Social production is when humans are...
You do share some.
Sure.
Oh, you share with the writer there, you have a relationship with that person for sure. In that sense. And that person is probably writing about something, I don't know, it could be like, it's like a movie, because we have movies now, but back in the days we only had books. But the books would take you to places. You're not there, you're in the book. You become part of the book and you're actually in that world, and you become one of the actors, and you become one thing in that world. And there you can have lots of social relationships, but then you're in that world, you're having a social relationship. I want to go shortly into one other book, which I'll propose to you guys. This is a very beautiful book called The Practice of Everyday Life. And it's from Michel de Certeau. So this is you guys are just getting theory from me today. And it talks here about, part 3 is about spatial practices, which I really like this piece here. And it starts actually with him kind of standing on top of the Empire State Building and looking down. And this will trigger this for me. And you see everything. You see the whole city doing what it's doing. Flowing this and this. And he starts to question this practice that's happening there. If from here, do I know the city? I can see it all. I can see the whole city here right below me. She stands on the edge of the Empire State Building. But what do I really know? similar to the grandmother who's calling me the hungover, having no idea why I'm talking to the guy on the corner of the road. Panorama city is a theoretical with a visual simulacrum. In short, a picture whose condition of possibility is an oblivion and misunderstanding of practices. So its possibility is endless. So in other words, if you want to try to grasp all lived spaces, you're going to fail. Because it's endless, it's constant interpretation, because it's always just coming about. The ordinary practitioners of the city live down below the threshold at which visibility begins. They walk. An elementary form of this experience of the city. They're walkers, bondsmen, whose bodies follow the thicks and thins of an urban text. They write without being able to read it. So we're inscribing our moments, the louder chair, the way I walk, the way I do my things. We're doing that constantly without actually being able to read what it is that we're doing and how we're affecting that space. Whose bodies follow the thicks and thins of urban text. Right? Without being able to read it. These practitioners make use of spaces that cannot be seen. The knowledge of them is as blind as that of lovers in each other's arms. The networks of these moving, intersecting writings compose a manifold story that has neither author nor spectator. Shape out of fragments and trajectories and alterations of space in relation to representation. Remains daily, indefinitely or other. Functional organization by producing progress, time, causes the condition of its own possibility. Space itself to be forgotten. Space thus becomes the blind spot. So, functionalist organization. Functionalist organization. Working, recreating, living, shopping. And it could be more, but whatever. Functionalist, by privileging progress, so it's time-induced, it's development-induced, causes the condition of its own possibility, space itself. So space was there. I'm saying this is a complex statement here, but space was there, and because of space, the possibilities are there. But because of the way they're dealing with this area, of privileging this over time, as a result, they forget the space which was here before this movement, which actually gave them the opportunity to even manifest this. So it becomes like a blind spot. It really becomes a blind spot in the way we think. The way that when I give you guys this overview of all these ideas and possibilities of space, it's just blind spots in our head. Because we've just been taught to look at square meters, programs, and all these kind of ways of looking and measuring and kind of saying, well, this is how I make my analysis. But all that other richness, it's become part of the hidden, lost past. It's like the days of Atlantis. We don't even know about it anymore. It's a myth. This is his challenge for us. One can analyze micro-life. This is interesting because some people might think this has an answer. One can analyze the microbe-like singular and plural practices which an urbanistic system was supposed to administer or suppress, but which have outlived its decay, modernism. One could follow the swarming activity of these procedures that, far from being regulated or eliminated by panoptical administration, have reinforced themselves in a proliferating illegitimacy. Developed and insulated themselves into the networks of surveillance, combined in accord with unreadable but stable tactics to the point of constituting everyday regulation and superstitious creativities that are merely conceived by the frantic mechanism of discursive cultivation and organization. Okay. Forget the second part here, it's a little complex. But he's saying one can start to analyze these micro-life singular and plural practices, which in an urbanistic process was seen to administer. So administer means that the house conceived. Again, that's the politics. So we make the design, we conceive something, and thus it should be administered. It should be working that way. Because that's why we propose it, that's why we conceive it. So action of the singular or the plural needs to fit in this administered space, but which have started to outlive its decay, because now the spaces and the administrators are kind of somehow dissipating, but we're still starting to appropriate these activities. We're still trying to appropriate these spaces. Because we, as individuals, are outliving the ideologies and the concepts that time and time again new politicians and new administrators are putting upon us. This is the great thing about us.